Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson. It's been a lot of talk about the NFL MVP. I actually did a piece a couple of weeks ago about Russell Wilson and my case for him, even though at the time, even kind of now, I don't think he's probably going to win, but he should be in the running for it. You had Carson Wentz, who's basically out for the season. He was the major person that was ahead of everything. Even though me honestly, just to say this, I honestly think they're gonna probably end up still giving it to him. But we'll see what happens though. But in case they don't, or they end up, they try to give it to Brady. The ironic thing about this whole award to me is basically a quarterback's award. I mean, and it's like that's crazy because in a lot of cases I get it because they touch the ball basically the most. Well, I should say the center touches the ball just as much as the quarterback touches the ball, but you'll never have a center be an MVP of the league. So we already got that, even though they may have happened with Mel Hine way back in the day um, for the New York Giants. But up into modern day football and whatnot, it's basically going to be a quarterback's award. Maybe every now and then a running back. And this is my reason because a lot of people start talking about, well, Antonio Brown having a sensational season. This guy's has been putting up Hall of Fame numbers. Basically, he has put up Hall of Fame numbers in the last few years. This guy keeps on the rate that he's going on. He's going to be one of the best receivers that ever played the game, and bar none, he's already pretty much going to eclipse anything that any receivers that played for Pittsburgh has ever done. Even going to the great Hines Ward, who I think was an absolutely great football player, who happened to play wide receiver, who definitely should be having a bust up in Canton. And up until Brown, probably was the best receiver that they ever played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's just my opinion, though. Look at it this way: I don't think that Antonio Brown will even win the award because, like I said, it's a quarterback award. Let's look at these facts right here. First and foremost, in 1987, strike shortened season. 12 games were played. Four wasn't played. It was played by, as they say, the scabs. Uh, you had the person that actually won the MVP was John Elway of the Denver Broncos, which I just didn't really get that when you really go back and think about it. It's like, let's read the stat lines here. John Elway passed for 3,198 yards, almost 3,200 yards. He threw 19 touchdowns to 12 picks. They went 8-3-1, and they got to the Super Bowl. Got it. Okay. Good year. He did what he did or whatever. That's fine and everything like that. Jerry Rice in 12 games, 65 catches, 1,078 yards, 22 touchdowns. 22 touchdowns in 12 games. Now, years later, which actually 20 years later, where you had the great Randy Moss break that record of 23 touchdowns in 16 games. The irony of that is just crazy within itself, simply for the fact that Jerry Rice played only 12 strike shortened season, and Randy Moss did all 16. And an outstanding, uh, an outstanding mark set either way. But Jerry Rice in 12 games, they gave the eight. They gave, they actually gave John Elway the Associated Press NFL MVP. I don't even know how that even happened because that year, I'm like, it's like, how did you do that? How do you possibly give them that award? It makes to me it really made no sense to give him that particular award based on what he did. Jerry Rice, 22 touchdowns. That thing sat for 20 years, literally that particular record. So how he doesn't get that how he doesn't get that award. Now he gets the offensive player of the year award when he should have got the MVP as well as the offensive player of the year award. That's hands down. He should have gotten that award. And I don't understand with 22 touchdowns in a 12 game span, he didn't get it. Which to me, like I said, biasness. And back during that time, if you really remember, if you was watching football back during that time, John Elway was definitely the golden boy. They definitely wanted him to do things and stuff like that. And he's coming up and he's getting ready to win these Super Bowls. I think the year before they went to the year before they went to the got to the Super Bowl against the Giants and actually lost. Actually lost to the Giants when lost to them. And that was the same year that, ironically enough, I'm gonna bring this up a little bit later on, where Lawrence Taylor, a linebacker, a defensive player, garnered uh, NFL MVP as well as Defensive Player of the Year. A linebacker. And you got a linebacker, as far as he's concerned. Go back, rewind that after that year. Going back to Alan Page in 1971 was the first defensive player ever defensive to win NFL MVP as well as Defensive Player of the Year. Just crazy. A defensive tackle at this particular time, and Alan Page is one of the greatest that ever did it, and he got that particular award too. So you mean to tell me a quarterback who makes his bones throwing to receivers and a receiver has never gotten this award is astonishing to me. I don't even understand how this even works. So, like I said, Jerry Rice in 12 games, 22 touchdown passes. John Elway, basically 3,198 yards, 19 touchdowns, 12 picks. Good stats. Okay, fine. The war shouldn't have went to him. Now let's forward this a few years later. 87, and we take it about 87, about 8 years later. You go into 19, you go into 19, but before we leave the whole thing with Elway's best year as a pro, his best stat line, it was in 1993. 1993, 348. He led the league in completions, 348, attempts, 551, and I think he did yards, 4,030 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks. They went 9-7. Okay, they went 9-7 that particular year, right? Uh, the most touchdowns Elway ever thrown in his career was 27, and that's the year they actually won his first Super Bowl. Okay, now you go to 1995. You go to 1995. Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers won 11-5. They won 11-5. Brett Favre 4,413 yards, 38 touchdowns, 13 picks. They lose an NFC Championship game to Dallas. That same year, Jerry Rice, his team goes, I think, 13-2, 1,848 yards and 15 touchdowns. They give it to Brett Favre, even though in certain cases, if we go back to what I was saying about in '87, with this whole with the whole situation and who won all the different awards and everything, Jerry Rice for the Pro Football Writers Association was the MVP, was the NFL MVP. But AP, Associated Press, that covered that's more weight. So, but Jerry Rice actually won it, but he won Offensive Player of the Year. So if we go back forward again, 1,848 yards. I mean, come on, that was just unprecedented at the time that he even played. This is in '87, not 2007, or not even 2016, 13, 14. This is in 1980. This is in 19. I want to say 1995. Okay, 1,848 yards, 15 touchdowns. Okay, and Jerry Rice didn't get it. He got, like I said, Offensive Player of the Year, and the Pro Football Writers Association, they gave him the MVP. Now, that's what I'm saying. How is it that somebody Jerry Rice got snuffed, got denied this particular award 2 times in his career when he should have been the NFL MVP? Now people say, well, Favre did this. I got that. You coming up with somebody that almost did close to 1,900 yards in pass receiving. That had been unprecedented back even back during the 1995 season. People wasn't having that. The closest that you had to have that particular type of yardage was going back to Lance Allworth back in the day. Back when he did something like back when Lance Allworth did this back in the 60s. And for him not to have gotten that particular award is pretty amazing and pretty crazy to me. How he didn't. The last award did 1602 back in 1965. Back in 1965. This is in 1965. It's crazy. So this is why I say Antonio Brown will not win that award, even though his name should be mentioned, but they're not going to. I'll be surprised, and I'll tell you why. Because for now, Antonio Brown at this point in 13 games has 99 catches for 1,509 yards. He only has 9 touchdowns, though. Unless he does like 16 to 17 touchdowns, which that means over the next 3 games, nine. Let me see, nine. He has to come up with at least 6 more touchdowns to give him 16, 15, 16 touchdowns to be in the running. But he'd have to do something spectacular. So it's definitely probably going to end up going to either Brady or Wilson and what have you. That's where it's going to end up coming down to. Or unless, Philip Rivers having a nice year, even Drew Brees is. But that's why I don't think Antonio Brown will win the award, because if the GOAT, as they call him, didn't get it in the year, because he should have been an NFL MVP in these 2 years, 87 as well as in 1995. Of course, especially in 87. If you want to argue about Favre, I give you that argument. There's no argument in 1987. There's no argument at all. None. That shouldn't even be any type of argument dealing with that, because 22 touchdowns 22 touchdowns in 12 games trumps anybody. It trumps them. So it's like there is no reason why it shouldn't even be a where that shouldn't even happen at all. That should be something that should be for him to win that award. That's the year that he should have won the award, if nothing else. And Elway shouldn't have gotten that award. But Elway was a golden kid. They wanted him still. He was still young, extremely young in his career, and they was trying to, making him out to be a lot more. I mean, Elway, great player, one of the great quarterbacks, everything like that. But to go against what Jerry Rice did, that's really unprecedented what he did. And like I said, you're talking about someone they went, and this is in 1987, if I'm not mistaken. Altogether, if you look at the whole records, because the Scavs played, they went 13-2. So but they lost that crazy game against Minnesota. But that was a game where definitely, like I said, that year in 1987, Jerry Rice should have definitely won the NFL MVP. And it's even argument about the whole thing about even being the NFL MVP in that of 1995, and they gave it to Favre. They gave Favre like 3 straight. Which is going to be biased and so forth. A wide receiver never to have gotten the award, and it's a quarterback-friendly award. It still astonishes me that that's never happened. But Jerry Rice was the person that should have won it. And I feel as though if Jerry Rice did not win it, I don't see Antonio Brown get it unless he finishes the year with right at 18, anywhere from 16 to 20 touchdowns. And unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. But it may, but I don't see that happening. Check me out on Everything Football number 62 on YouTube, and check me out on Twitter. I'll be back in a few minutes.